Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Bell here on Fightful. I'm Andrew Zarian. I am not joined by BTC Rich on Twitter. Somebody told me I have to mention his Twitter handle more often, and now I'm doing it. He's not here. Rich is not here today. He's out on assignment. I think he got suspended after last week's show. I think we had too much MG on the show, and Sean put his foot down and said, one of you guys has to take the fall. Rich took it, and I think he's on a beach somewhere. But with me, what a fantastic replacement. My co-host on In the Weeds, Joel Pearl.
What are you talking about? Hello, my sweet babies. I did
Hello.
it.
There you go. Hello, my sweet baby. Ah, there you did it.
I'm Rich. How you doing?
What's going on, Joel?
Oh, you know, it's Tuesday. It's my day off. But when Andrew Zarian comes calling, I immediately say, let's go. I'll take a day or a morning to hang out and talk about whatever you want. No question.
Listen, we're going to do a quick one today. We'll do a quick show today. My son's home, so I do this thing with my kids where like once a quarter when they have like a really good week in school or like a couple good weeks, I tell them, I'm like, listen, Tuesday, it's our day. So my daughter had one 2 weeks ago. My son pointed out he had not had one this year. So he's home. He's playing hooky. We're going to go to Target. We're going to buy all these toys. And he wants to get a lobster roll, so I got to find a place to go get a lobster roll after the show.
Where can you get a good lobster roll in your town?
I got a lot by me.
I mean, I guess. I'm trying to, like, I know where
my town is called Bayside.
Yeah, I get it. But also, listen, when I get a lobster roll, it's when I used to tour with bands and we would be on the East Coast and you go to Maine and they'd be like, go have a lobster roll. But thinking about like New York, I'm like, man, where can you get a good lobster roll?
No, we got good ones here. We got great lobster roll. I'm sure the chat will know. See, justice for Rich already in the chat room. Listen, he made an executive call. He made an EVP call to have our producer on, and the rule is he's not allowed on the show.
Why would you?
Do you have that rule on yours? Do you have that on your show with Sean?
Yeah, we do. But also, the producer then sends us notes individually instead and makes things better. By the way, I just got a text message from Jeremy Lambert, the co-host of In the Weeds, the other one.
Yeah, my other co-host.
Yeah, it says Andrew Zarian, nice eyebrows.
Thank you so much. I love the support here on Fightful. This is the 8th episode. We've been here for 2 months, and I got to tell you, we're gonna get to wrestling, but I have Joel on, so I love having him on. I love talking to him. I got to tell you though, I absolutely love being on this website. I love being on Fightful. No knock at Observer, no knock at any place else that I've worked with, but the synergy amongst talent is very high here. And it's very supportive. Everybody's very, very supportive of everybody, which I've never experienced even in in my entire career. I've never experienced something like that.
The morale is high. That's what we do here. We're all best pals. Even Alex Pulowski is friends with everybody.
Even Alex is friends with everybody. A lot of wrestling happening. It's the summer season. Sometimes it gets very slow in the summer, and sometimes it gets very busy. I think we're going to have a very busy summer here with everything happening. Clash at the Castle coming up on the 15th. You also have Forbidden Door coming up at the end of the month, which I will be at. Joel, you're not coming for that, are you?
No, because the next week will be Money in the Bank in Toronto, and I will be there instead.
Yeah, so we got a busy couple shows to attend. I like this, man. It's pretty cool how it seems like everything is bigger than ever with wrestling, and it just constant changes. It's a very uncertain time. Like, I pride myself on predictability. I could forecast and I could see where things are going. WWE has become very difficult to do that with because it's a whole different operation. You can't assume anything anymore over there. And AEW is in a very strange transitionary period where they're getting their C-level executives going. They're changing the entire corporate structure. It's no longer a startup. It's becoming a pretty defined organization now. A lot of changes.
It's not a bad thing. Let's go for it. I mean, I'd rather be talking about the changes than talking about the negatives.
Yeah.
Exactly. Why not? Listen, I was listening to Denise and Sean, and they were asking him, what would you rather be covering, contracts or fights? And both had very different answers. Some people want the drama, and some people want to know how wrestlers can make more money. And I get it. I do. I like focusing on the positive. Of course,
I
there's
do
a part
too.
of me that likes the messiness sometimes because it's entertainment, and entertainment is entertaining. But also, sometimes real life does get in the way, and you just want to have some fun.
Monday Night Raw last night. This Liv Morgan show, I have to tell you, she is feeling bigger than ever. Happenstance. I mean, I know that she was going to feud with Rhea, and they were probably going to lead to this, Dominic love triangle, but not a blessing because Rhea's hurt. But in a weird way, this kind of's working out, and it's added this very soap opera-ish level that I'm not against. I think we got very used to wrestling after, and then now they're stepping back a little bit and adding the story. I like this Liv Morgan story. What do you think?
Oh, it's fantastic. Anything that pulls you in and gives you something to talk about and think about and wonder. It's not will she, won't she? It's now will he, won't he? Because Dominic has been so good on camera doing all of this stuff and reacting, and Liv is also just playing her part perfectly and everything. I love where it's going. I love that there's a story attached to it. I'm a big storytelling guy in wrestling. Jeremy and I, we talk about it all the time on In the Weeds. Is wrestling is fine, wrestling is good, but when you can tell me a story, I am all in, especially when it's great.
Okay, this is, I'm into this, right? And obviously the Bloodline storyline and the Cody story really were pivotal points to that company last year, right? AEW, what would you say is their biggest story that they've done?
Ever?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like their best story that they've told. Like Austin McMahon, right? WWE's best story that they've told. Or Sting, the I don't know, WCW. There were so many bad stories. The NWO, that whole thing. It worked. It worked in the beginning.
Hogan and Sting and the NWO.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
Goldberg, the rise of Goldberg and how they told that. It worked.
Obviously Kenny and Hangman obviously was a big one. And now
that's a good one.
Hangman and Swerve as of last year was a good one that still has some legs. And talking about, you mentioned the rise of Goldberg in WCW. Now it's the rise of Will Ospreay. Came in, nobody knew what to expect of him beyond excellent matches. And not only does he deliver there, but now they're seeing him on the microphone almost every week, cutting a promo, and every week he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
He has become such a big pivotal star for that company. And I think people expected it, but I don't think they expected to the degree that it has been effective.
So I asked this question not because I'm trying to prove a point, but I was really curious what stood out to people. And in the chat room, Punk MJF, I thought that was a fantastic story. Yeah, they did a great job with that. Stories do work. It really does. And I think this is another layer that they're adding to this, and they're getting more legs. Wait till Rhea comes back and essentially murders her.
And there's such a weird and interesting story with Rhea, because how do you tell this love triangle of a story knowing that Rhea is not going to be someone who should be hurt by Dominic shacking up with Liv, right?
Yes.
And I talked about this on In the Weeds yesterday. It doesn't make sense for her to just be like, boo-hoo, I'm so sad my Dom left. But she was always the dominant in that story, in that relationship. And as others have pointed out, Liv is the first one to be physically affectionate with Dominic, whereas Rhea and Dom have never shared a kiss on screen on WWE TV. It's always just been a very close, they can play it off as a very close friendship, but how close were they? I don't know, and that's up to them as to how they tell the story. And again, you don't know. Dominic is conflicted because here is this very pretty girl who is coming on to him, and then there's this other very pretty girl who he's been with and knows and is, very close with. There's a few sides to the story that can be told, and I appreciate that, because again, the whole point of wrestling is to tell you a story that amounts to a ring where a match happens and the stakes are made, and then you put the match on and you work from there.
And sometimes that never happens. You build a program and it doesn't happen.
Oh, there's a whole video to be made from that.
Oh, you know what? There should be a video. I think Fightful could do a good job of the what ifs, all those big angles that never happened. They worked to it and it never happened.
Want to see it now?
Hey, Triple H and The Rock. Remember that little face to face? Uncle Dave got a little confused in that email that was sent to him. giving him a
That's right.
SmackDown summary, but it's okay.
It's okay. It was only 5 years before.
It was only 5 years ago. The other interesting part here is the Chad Gable stuff. I'm not going to do a full rundown. There's so many other people that do a better rundown here. We also got the QR code. I don't know how I feel about the Uncle Howdy stuff. I don't know how it's going to come across. I hope it works. To me, they've been so based in reality with their wrestling over the last, I don't know, year or so. I don't know if I could get back into this spooky stuff to that extent. Maybe I will. Maybe I'm going to love it. I don't know. We'll see. But the other thing is the Chad Gable stuff. I'm really interested by this. It almost seems like his push came out of nowhere. This is a guy, when he was in Alpha Academy, one of the... the first team with Jordan. American Alpha. I thought it was incredible. I thought those two were just so good, so talented. It worked. Unfortunately, Jordan got hurt. His career ended early. And unfortunately, Gable was smaller, and he just became a joke. And now that's not the case. They've made him into a very serious, dominant character. Sami Zayn called him out. He said he wants to end this tonight. Otis, Maxine came out, along with Tozawa. They had a prepared statement by Gable, which I liked. I liked that whole part. Gable attacked him from behind. But the big story here is what happens between Gable and Otis. And Gable's contract. Where do you think this ends up going? I don't see him leaving after this.
If he does, then kudos to Chad Gable, because he was a professional the entire way through. If he sticks around and it turns out that he resigns, then fantastic. He makes good money and he's happy and things are working out. Where does this go for Otis? That's the big question. Everyone and their mother can pretty much assume that it's going to turn into a huge moment for Otis, and that's fine. Rebuild Otis. Remember, he won Money in the Bank when no one was around, at a time when he was red hot and people had been cheering for him and so excited for him. Now we can finally start rebuilding Otis with the live crowd, and the crowd last night was hot.
Yeah, that was a good Raw crowd.
They were so excited for the moment. And when they took it away from them and Otis attacked Sami Zayn, that was it. They were like, oh, God, I can't believe they did it again. When the moment happens, it's going to be fantastic.
You know what's amazing? This roster, it feels small, okay? The Raw roster. For whatever, to me, I don't know if other people feel, but it's so top heavy. Like, they've really done a tremendous job where it's not about 2 people anymore. It's not about 3 people. While SmackDown, it feels large, but it was about Roman. And that was it for the longest time. There's so many different parts here. When everybody comes back and they're healthy, when Seth is healthy, when Punk is healthy, now you have Drew there. You have just such a top tier fighting for that world title. It's really fascinating to me, where it's very competitive, while SmackDown has taken a little step back, and it's like, okay, there's one guy we're focusing on, and then there's a second guy we're focusing on. Do you feel that way when you watch the two brands?
Yeah, it's an ensemble cast versus a star cast, and not the event that they used to do. But the way that they kind of focus on Raw is that it is this ensemble cast. All the titles matter. This is what you're going for. Whereas on SmackDown, yeah, no, it feels like it's the Cody show, which is fine because Cody is the top guy in that company. And then everything kind of revolves around Cody and then a couple of other things. But U.S. champion Logan Paul comes and goes. He's big when he shows. The tag team championships are fine. Bayley as the women's champion could be better presented, but at least she's now back on TV. There are moments where it becomes an ensemble, but at the end of the day, you're really focused on what's Cody doing.
Yeah. Natty also made an interesting comment. Enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Is she going to come out with Hazard with caution gear on?
She's going to, let her pay homage to her Uncle Owen. She loves him dearly. Let her do it.
Interesting time for her to say that, considering they had announced the Owen Hart tournament.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a little tongue-in-cheek, that's great.
I hope so. Yeah, it's always fun.
I've spoken to Natty before in interviews, and she is full of so much pride for her family, and she continues to have that pride and show that pride. And the way that her gear looks is always immaculate, and it's always very heart based. She started a new dungeon that people are flocking towards. Listen, Natty does so many amazing things in and out of wrestling that little stuff like that.
She's
I'm like,
incredible.
yep, I believe it. I can see it. Let's go.
I love the story of the fact that her wrestling style was such a turnoff to that company. Do you remember that whole thing? Well, it's unfortunate Natty wrestles like a man. Remember that whole thing about her? And that she couldn't. Her and Beth Phoenix. But her especially. I remember just constantly hearing that from people. And I'm like, okay, like, what does that mean? Because I watched, Old Japan Women, and I've watched, Medusa wrestle. And there's nothing, she's a very competitive wrestler. There's nothing, it's wrestling. There's no male wrestling, female wrestling with her. It's wrestling. I always felt that she got this weird, different time. If she came up, 6 years later, it would have been a very different story about how they thought about her in her early part of her career. She's incredible. I mean, Natalya is responsible for so many great wrestlers coming out of that. I mean, essentially from WWE, training so many great talent. And this card last night, I rarely gloat about Raw because it's my least like show during the week, but it was great. The Liv Morgan stuff kicked it off good. You got Dragon Lee Finn Balor. I mean, yeah, it was like a weird ending with Carlito, but it doesn't matter. You still got it. Braun Breaker Ricochet.
They did a bunch of run-ins throughout the night that I didn't
that
think
was
were
the story.
necessary. And that was the story. It didn't, luckily it wasn't DQ finishes for every single match. Some of them had finishes and then someone would run in. I get it. They're also in this point where WWE has a bunch of shows, PLEs, every 2 weeks for the foreseeable future that they have to build quickly.
Yeah.
Clash at the Castle is in a week and a half. It's in 10 days, give or take. So they got to get to it somehow. This is just how they're choosing to do it. I don't love it, especially when
the build for that show.
Yeah, the build for that show, because they're very quick, right? It was Triple H who had to make the announcement that Drew McIntyre is back, and then they're going to make the World Championship match and so on and so forth. They could have built that up. They could have announced it on the television the next night on Raw, but instead they had to get Triple H out there to do it and make it a big thing. But the build has just it's been strange. But again, we always get to the point where the show is going to be fantastic because guess what? The wrestlers know how to wrestle.
Yeah, and it's an international show, and the crowd is going to be so into it. And the big story, Drew McIntyre going for the title is a huge story there. CM Punk possibly involving himself. That's even a bigger story.
Yep.
What happens there? Okay, so I wanted to touch on the New Day stuff, and then I want to move on to some news. But, they have such an easy out with this breakup with the New Day, and they're doing it all wrong. Why isn't Xavier Woods getting mesmerized by all the QR codes and the spookiness?
Because he's focused. Because he is a professional, Andrew.
I know, but Bray had control over him.
Oh God, I remember this now.
Right? Bray had he gave with his power of mesmerism. He did his mesmerism should be a word. Is it not a word? Someone looked that up. Is mesmerism a word? Because I have definitely read it in comic books.
That comic books are usually the baseline for whether a word exists. That's true.
Yeah, that is magnetism. The power of magnetism.
That's right.
He put a spooky spell on him, and he almost became part of the Wyatts. I think you could do something really weird. You know what? Who doesn't want to see a goth Xavier Woods? Maybe. A very sad goth Xavier Woods.
Maybe Xavier Woods was the psychiatrist Wendy Lucho the entire time. Maybe that would be great. He was just
would be great.
Just dyed his hair blonde for a few weeks. That's all.
Yeah. Let's go into some news here. Per Fightful Select, Becky Lynch is now a free agent as of last week. It's been hinted that she's going to be taking an extended break and then eventually signing up. I've always felt the same about that. I can't see her leaving.
Yeah, but what if Becky Lynch challenged TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace at Slammiversary in Montreal?
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. I would love that. And they would do that. And you know what? That would be tremendous.
I don't see it happening, but obviously a boy can dream, and a boy
A
will
boy,
be at Slammiversary, so it'd be nice to see.
you're going to Slammiversary, but you're
It's
not
in
coming to
Montreal.
Forbidden Door.
But I can get to Montreal very easily.
But that's like a different country for you.
It's a different country for you. Come to you. You get what I'm trying to say.
Dude, leaving this, going to New Jersey is a different country for me. Okay.
I get it. Listen, there was for 3 minutes this morning for the bit, I thought about it because I dropped my kid off at daycare at 8 a.m. and I was like, I could feasibly hop on a plane, go to LaGuardia, and show up at Andrew Zarian's doorstep just to do this show.
You know what? If we planned this better, we could have done that.
And it would have been the dumbest, funniest bit imaginable.
How long is the flight?
About an hour and a half? No,
an hour and a half.
That. It's maybe an hour 15.
Okay, so you get on that 6 a.m., right? You get on that 6 a.m.
I get on the 8:30.
Get on the 8:30. You're here by 10. We could have done the show at noon. I could have said, "Oh, we're going to do the show at noon."
Oh, we could have done it 10:30.
I'm 15 minutes away from LaGuardia with traffic.
We could
have done this.
Next time. Could have expensed Jimmy. Jimmy would have been like, for the bit, absolutely not. And I would have said, Jimmy, we're doing it anyway.
I would have split it with Jimmy. I would have split that bit with Jimmy. I would have split each way.
Good to know.
I can get you here, but I can't send you back.
Oh, that's fine. I'll just hitchhike. I'm sure that's okay. Bring my passport and hope for the best.
Just show a little leg.
I'm wearing shorts right now. I'm sure it would work.
You know the story. What happened with me at in Chicago, right?
When you were leaving All Out?
When I was leaving All Out.
And you want to tell the story?
Well, I made the most idiotic decision. I was like, we can walk this. It's like 2 miles from the hotel. Okay? But it was 2 miles, but it was 3 hours to walk because you had to walk around the highway.
Yep.
I was hitchhiking. There was no Ubers, no taxis, nothing. I got rescued by 2 friends that happened to be in Chicago. Okay? They're big wrestling fans. They just happened to be driving by at 1 o'clock in the morning. They rescued me. And I think Tony Leader from Observer saved everybody else.
These stories, and there have been many of them, is like reason number 5 why I probably will never go to an all-in or to an all-out event. Like as long as All Out is happening in Schaumburg, I'm like, I'm good.
No, you could have booked the Marriott. If you stayed at the Marriott, it would have been great. I stayed at whatever other hotel it was.
Yeah, but
Marriott was booked.
The Marriott is all booked up by the time you even announce the date.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah, I ain't doing it. And plus this year, it's funny because like this is the first year where All Out being on Labor Day would have been okay. And then they moved it a week. That happens to be my brother's wedding and a billion other things that are going on that weekend. So I'm like, oh, that's going to impact my weekend. I'll be at the wedding just looking at my phone being like, oh yeah, Hangman, he's back. And then everyone's going to look at me like, what's wrong with you? Like wrestling.
Just ignore it. Just ignore it.
Yeah,
Chad Gable's contract is up on Friday. What do you think happens here?
I would love to see him stick around. I really would. It's like I said earlier, if he decides that he's going to do business and then head off and do something else, all the respect to him. He's got to go where he makes money, but I think right now he's on such an ascent and he's being treated so well in WWE that it would be great for him to stick around. He can literally has the leverage, and that's a good thing to have if you're a wrestler trying to make money in wrestling.
I think the base salary now is, I forgot who put that report. It was $350,000 on the main roster.
Till I see the contracts, I have no idea.
God, I hope that's true. That's good money.
Would be nice. Would
be great. Incredible. AJ Styles, his segment on SmackDown. I wanted to talk to you about this. I thought this was great. He pulled a Mark Henry. Somebody knew. I forgot who it was, but somebody leaked. Like, I saw memes of this happening before it happened. I've been so out of it the last, 3 weeks with this stuff. I had no idea what it was in reference to. And then I saw him on TV, and he came out in a powder blue suit. He said he had attended his son's graduation, high school graduation that week. So I guess that's what he wore.
Listen, AJ Styles' dress is pretty okay. He can do it when he tries. I don't know about
Yeah.
the brown shoes. I'm a black shoe kind of guy, but you know what? He pulls off the brown shoe. It's okay.
Yeah, I have rules with brown shoes.
With that color of suit that he was wearing, that
Camel.
pastel blue,
Camel.
camel. Yeah, it worked for him. Having the camel shoes.
AJ comes to the ring. He looks choked up. He said he got to attend his son's high school graduation this week, and he said he wonders how many of those parties he's missed, and maybe he should stay home and just be a phenomenal father. He asked Gallows and Anderson.
Booed him, by the way,
big time. We don't approve on fatherhood when it affects our TV time.
No fathers in this house.
We want single parent households when it comes to wrestling, okay? How dare you want to go home and be a good father?
That's right.
He asked Gallows and Anderson to come out to the ring, and he thanked them. He called out Cody to acknowledge the match they had at Backlash, and it was a total setup. And he hit the gnarliest Styles Clash off that steel steps. And somebody, I forgot who it was, again on Twitter, wrote, the amount of trust you must have in your dance partner when it comes to professional wrestling is not like anything else. So I'm going to hold you upside down in a very awkward position. And the way you're going to take this move goes against every other move you're taught to do. Instead of tucking your neck, you're supposed to extend it out. And God, I hope you remember. And your response is, all right, cool, let's do this. You've done this a billion times. Wild. It's amazing, actually.
20 plus years in the business. You should trust your partner.
You should trust your partner. It was incredible. I thought it was a great ending. I like that they're continuing this program.
So can I tell you one thing? I mentioned this on In the Weeds yesterday. I get it. Okay, I get it. The salmon jacket callback and everything. I would have done this a little bit differently if you will give me the moment. Instead of having the whole jacket moment, do the retirement, do the tease, call Cody out, give him or don't even call Cody out. Do the whole thing in the ring where you do the retirement and everyone's like, "Oh my God, is he retiring?" And then leave the ring, play the music, and do that. I know everyone loves that Goodfellas shot now, that the long shot where you don't do any cameras. They just have it. They just have him going down the way, down and out, and into the parking lot, and then Cody goes up to AJ Styles, gives him a big hug, says, "I love you, I appreciate you," and that is when the attack happens. Don't do it in the ring.
Yeah, I could have taken that too. I like that also.
Give me a longer swerve. Give me something completely different than I'm going to beat up this guy in the ring and make him believe that this was the setup. Do the setup out in the car park.
Brian Knight in the chat figured it out. He said that crowd was full of Christian Cage fans. That explains it all.
Yeah,
that explains it all. Guys, I want to give a little plug out. If you want to get your questions answered at the end of the show, hit us up. Hit the super chat button. We'll put you to the front of the line. Special precedence for people that want to pay. If not, you can still ask your super chat question, and we will try to get to it at the end of the show. I thought it was good. I thought SmackDown was good.
That was fine. I think next week is going to be a little... we'll see. There's a lot of just random matches on the card.
What do you make of the NXT Battleground at the Apex?
So when you think about it, the PC holds fewer people, and they were holding PLEs at the PC for a while. This is it's a new World TKO and UFC and WWE all in the same mishmash. So like, it's fine. It's not great because
it's an experiment.
It's an experiment, and this is the right show to do it with because you're bringing in enough hot talent and new talent, and you're bringing in Sexy Red, and you've got Jordan Grace, and there's some crossover stuff going on. There is at least a hot product coming into the Apex. That being said, I don't expect it to be a place where it's like we should go there every month. I don't think we're going to get to that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Actually, Joe, I think we spoke about this off the. And here's a little behind the scenes stuff. I tell Joel everything, or mostly everything. I need an outlet. I'm such a yenta. I really am. I'm a humongous yenta, and I can't hold a secret. So I'm terrible at this job. So I have certain people that I call to spill the beans to. You're one of those. Sean's one of those. My producer MJ, and obviously Rich. I just have to tell somebody something, you know. And it depends on what it is. And I know for a fact, I could tell you something and it'll never happen. You won't leak it or anything, but even if you did, I don't care. I really don't care anymore.
What am I going to do?
What are you going to do?
Tell the world?
Tell the world on Fightful.com?
Yeah. What's the world going to do? Believe me? Not believe me?
I went out to dinner with a couple of people from WWE 2 years ago. And this is pre-merger, for sure. I know they have played with the idea for many, many years. If there's an avenue for any kind of residency in Vegas, okay? I've had this conversation with people there where they have looked into it because I know the market. I know Las Vegas. So, and certain people in media know that. So, it was a very picking my brain on stuff. And I asked them point blank, I'm like, is this something you guys want to do? Because a residency of sorts could work, and at that point, is this pre-pandemic or post-pandemic? I'm trying to remember. No, it was post-pandemic, the conversation. No, it was post-pandemic, the conversation. And they were very interested. They go, it's funny you bring that up because these are conversations that we've had. This could be some sort of test. What if monthly you ran a show, or what if you moved NXT? And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you put on a show in Las Vegas and you made it almost like a residency there, where you could do something unique, that may open the door if this is successful. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think this is an idea that they've played with even before, Vince had bought that casino. Not the Dolly Parton. What was the casino that Vince bought? Oh, man.
Oh, my God. I remember this was, this is going to bug me forever.
It'll bother me if I don't remember.
It wasn't the Orleans.
No. It was a actress's name. The Debbie Reynolds.
The Debbie Reynolds.
They bought the Debbie Reynolds and they were going to make it a... The concept of that is insane. You would have retired wrestlers as your greeters. So Mr. Fuji would be the greeter and the Iron Sheik would be it would be the most bizarre view into Vince McMahon's mind. Because he would obviously assign... we've seen that actually. We've seen those terrible text messages, so we know what's in his mind.
Maybe we don't need to get into his mind.
No, I think you know what it was. We went in there and nobody wanted to see what was actually there.
We backed out very quickly.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody there about those messages. I've only had one conversation with people there. I'm so grossed out by the whole thing. You and I have spoken about it. I don't even want to go near it because it really ruins wrestling for me. If the allegations are totally true, it's still heinous. The text messages are weird. I don't want to read that, and I'm not a prude. And I still don't want to read that. No, I hope, it's heinous, the allegations. And for my sanity, I really try to move past it and do my show and not, there's so many, my line is there's so many better people out there to talk about this, and I'm not that guy. Because I do fun stuff, I make jokes. I don't want to slip and make something up, and say something stupid.
By the way, can we just? I gotta say that celebrate that for a minute, or at least point that out. That's an important thing for any creator who might be watching a show like this. It's okay to just leave stories alone that you may not have expertise in. I'm not saying that you have to cover everything with expertise, but when it comes to a very sensitive matter like this lawsuit, please do your best to be as educated as you can if you are going to cover it. I can tell you people like John Pollock, Brandon Thurston, they are very much towards the forefront of this reporting, and I cannot say enough good things about them and their reporting. Jeremy and I on In the Weeds, we have made it our mission to keep people abreast as to what is going on in the lawsuit. We're not about giving opinions. We're about giving the news and the fact. And if you are someone who can do that, by all means. But what you're saying, it's not part of what you want to do. It's not part of your content. That is okay. And please remember that it's okay.
Well, here's my issue. And I'll, now that we spoke about this, I'll talk about it, right? I spoke about it maybe a week after it happened, okay? And my approach to things like this, especially things like this, is I'm speaking in a cadence where there is zero opinion. Because my opinion is a little warped with this stuff, right? I want to be emotional about it. I want to talk about it, but I also I'm familiar with how these filings work, right? With these lawsuits. And I don't want any kind of bias that I have, because I've seen a lot of this happen with my clients. Whether, not that they've been the ones, but staff issues, things like that, I don't want to come off, because I want to deliver this so dry, it almost comes off that I'm defending. And when I don't do that, when I do say things like these are heinous messages, then the other side is like, well, you're already making a decision that this is factual, that Vince is guilty. And I decided at that point, I don't want to touch it, because there's no amount of reporting I could do on this that any people are going to understand thoroughly. I don't want to show any kind of emotion when I report something like this, because, listen, these are lawsuits. And it's going to play out. The Southern District of New York is now involved. Great. Here's a great one, okay? Great. The only thing I have ever said about the Vince McMahon stuff was a Brandon Thurston tweet. I replied to it on Friday, and I wrote, the Southern District of New York has a 95% success rate, conviction rate. They don't generally take on cases that they feel they could potentially lose. That's why they didn't go near the Trump stuff early on. That's all I wrote. I didn't mention Trump stuff. All I wrote was 95. I had people like, oh, he's already guilty, I guess. You're already determining he's guilty. Way to be a journalist. I'm like, guys, I'm just stating a fact. Has nothing to do with Vince. I'm just stating a fact of how they prosecute.
A fact, by the way, that you've pointed out on In the Weeds
Multiple
as early
times.
as 2 months ago.
I've been, I know a little bit about them. I've never been in trouble with the Southern District of New York, and I never want to speak about them disparagingly, just in case somebody's listening.
That's right.
I have friends that are ADAs here and DAs other places. I know how they operate. That's why I don't go near it. I don't want to talk, because it's such a serious topic to me. Like, this isn't something I could have fun with, and I talk about this stuff because I want to have fun. Other guys, Brandon Thurston, the best. John Pollock, the best at this. I'm sure there are other people that are great, and I'm not taking a knock at you, but their entire beginning to end from covering this stuff has been tremendously professional. And they're doing an unbelievable job. They are the ones that, in my opinion, you want to hear about it, go to them. You want to hear a couple dick jokes from me, you come here. That's the reality.
That's right. You want nonsense? That's what I do.
With some really breaking news.
Right, exactly. The nonsense breaks in when the news finishes.
It's also, I gotta, now I'm like, now I've spiraled into this, right? Like, it also bothers me so much. Like, it has been, between the Punk stuff, and this, I'm gonna be totally transparent. Like, I've been so down on wrestling. So down. And I think if you follow me on Twitter and you follow the shows, you could tell. Between the CM Punk stuff, the TV rights bullshit, where people have already determined the demise of this company, and the Vince McMahon stuff, it's been so much of a turnoff. Where it's taken me out. Listen, I'm going to come back. I feel great today. I'm in. But you know what I mean by this? Like, it affects the way you enjoy things when it's constant negativity happening.
I learned fairly recently, just move on from it. In other words, if you're getting most of this negativity from one space, maybe it's a space that is a single letter social media platform, take a break. It's okay to go away for a little bit and come back.
Yeah,
take a breather, take fine. 2 weeks off and quit the business. You know what I mean?
It's just, it gets frustrating with the negativity, but it is what it is. What are you going to do? That's the world. Look at the freaking world we're living in.
But that's what people like us have the potential to do, is that with our voices, we can actually point out that not everything is doom and gloom, and that there is a reality to a lot of this stuff, because some people want to doom and gloom every single piece of news that comes out, when reality is there's multiple sides to any reporting.
Yeah. Back to NXT. NXT has a show coming up. They'll be sold out. 668 capacity, 613 tickets distributed. I mean, they're pretty much sold out for that. All right, fun. Is this card doing anything for you?
I mean, the big two questions are, with Roxanne Perez versus Jordan Grace for the NXT Women's Championship, what does that look like?
Jordan should take it. Make a star.
Okay. I'm not against it. And then, Jordan Grace has already said that at Against All Odds on June 14th, there's going to be an open challenge for the Knockouts Championship. So at the TNA show, it's open challenge. People have started speculating who could that be. We can get to that in a sec. But the other big question is, who's going to challenge for the NXT World Championship, for the NXT Championship? Now that Ethan Page has shown up, we don't know officially if that's a match to be made. I personally would rather wait about a month, do it at Heatwave, because this is one of those times where WWE and NXT have a PLE that is 1 month apart and not several. So you can build Ethan Page versus Trick Williams in a 3-week span, have Noam Dar get his shot at this particular show, because there's enough going on here. First time you're going to have a new NXT Women's North American champion. You've got Wes Lee challenging for the North American Championship against Obafemi and Joe Coffey. That's a big match because of the way it's built and the people involved. The NXT Underground match, doing an underground match in the UFC Apex, Lola Vice, Shayna Baszler, who's a main roster star, coming down. And then the tag championships, you got, OC and Frazier and Axiom. Is like, okay, it's fine. I could see the OC winning the tag titles.
Ethan Page's debut, they're putting him in a big position. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's incredible. I've seen him. First time I saw him wrestle live was at Evolve, where he murdered Darby Allin. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. He picked this man up and he threw him against the pillar, and Darby snapped in half. He literally tossed him off. Do you remember that spot?
Well, this is par for the course when it comes to Darby Allin being thrown from things.
It was right in front of me because I was on the stage setup that they used to do at La Boom, and he picked him up and he just threw him off the stage into the pillar. I've never seen anything like that. Snapped him in half. This is like 2016.
And then a few years later, Ethan Page launches Darby Allin down the stairs at Daly's place. So really, what are we doing here?
Yeah, he's still been beating him up. He's still beating him up.
Darby Allin could show up on NXT in a few weeks, and who's gonna beat him up? Ethan Page is gonna beat him up.
Tomorrow, Dynamite lineup coming up. The return of MJF. He looked incredible. I'm happy to see him come back. Much needed. Great timing for his return. Mariah May versus Saraya. AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland versus Roderick Strong. This is for the title?
Apparently. All you got to do is walk up to Tony Khan, berate him a little bit, and then make him feel bad about a neck injury you both had, and you get a world championship match. That's how it works, right?
Yeah. That was a very awkward backstage segment.
Yes, it was. You listen, we're all going to get past it soon enough. It's not the best way to get into it, but that's how they're going to get to it.
I want Shad Khan to be involved in backstage segments. And I want him to do like a Stone Cold thing. He just flips everybody off. Like they're all terrified of him. Like they're like, I had no idea he was so insane. And he just gives everybody the finger, just starts dropping F-bombs left and right. That's what I want. Like to the point that MJF is taken back.
Oh, I love it. And then anytime someone goes up to Tony Khan and he says, yeah, okay, you can have that match. You can have that match. Shad Khan just walks up out of nowhere and says, you want that match? And then all of a sudden he negates the match and just turns it into something completely different. And everyone looks at Shad like, yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, I want to. I kind of. That mustache is $1 million. $1 billion.
It's $1 billion.
The $1 billion mustache. Right. Yeah. The $1 billion mustache. Fantastic. All right, I'm looking forward to it. Only 3 matches announced, but it's, they're building to Forbidden Door. More matches were added to Forbidden Door. Toni Storm made a video facing Mina.
I'm sorry, she did a what?
She made a video appearance on Sunday Stardom.
Sorry, you said she made a video in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. No. Somewhere else. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Her Forbidden Door is open by her own accord, and you went there. I'm just saying. It's all you.
I'm so sorry. No disrespect to Toni Storm. I'm a huge fan of hers. My wife loves her and asked to watch the scrum from last time.
You know what? Of all the scrums you can watch, she's the only one worth watching.
She's a star. And you know what? Here's the reason. You wanna so you remember like everybody was knocking on Rich, like, why did he ask a stupid question, right? He has Tony in front of him, he could ask him anything. I'm like, I felt so uncomfortable asking anything in that scrum. It's half worked. The whole thing is worked. To me, I was like, I can't ask Tony anything serious with her doing this.
Yeah, you gotta lean it. You gotta read the room, is what it is.
Yeah.
We've talked
It was
about
also
this.
2:00 in the morning, and I wanted to get the hell out of that room.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like when I was at Forbidden Door last year,
Yeah.
and I asked about Danielson and the amount of money that was paid for Final Countdown. That was the only real question I needed to ask. Everything else is fine. You're the kayfabe vortex. Get into it.
I'm gonna go to Tony. I'm gonna be like, hey Tony, Andrew Zarian, Fightful. You want to see my little dance? Do like one of these, and then ask him to rate it. How many stars?
I have one question that I need to ask Tony the next time I see him.
Oh, what is it? Anything good?
Well, no, this is something that if you've been watching In the Weeds long enough, you know that the question is, where is my bottle of water? Just one. Just put it on the chair of every single media member who's coming into the room.
No.
Just give me a bottle of
haves
water.
and have-nots. It's haves and have-nots. You walk into that scrum, there's 85 bottles of water, but none for you.
No, this is not how we do it.
I'm going to start bartering. I'm going to start bartering.
We've sat there for 6 to 8 hours and the room is warm. Let's just get a bottle of water, man.
Hey, Tony, there's a quarter of an edible I've been nibbling on over the last 5 hours of your show. Can I trade the remainder for a bottle of water? Thanks.
Great question. Great question. Get him 2 bottles of water and I'll take the edible.
Yeah, there you go. Forbidden Door matches, Tony Storm, Mina. I'm into that. Other matches also. Swerve Strickland defends against Will Ospreay. I don't know. I want to see this. I want to see this so bad, but not at this show.
Where do you want to see it?
Oh, you know where. I want to see it all.
I know. Everyone talked about seeing it all in. I get it.
I get it, but they have a plan. That's what I was told.
And I'm gonna let the plan. I know we all joke about let it play out. I'm gonna let the plan play out. I know the back half of 2023 with AEW, letting it all play out didn't exactly go so well. There were injuries, there were other things at play. I'm willing to see how this one plays out. Seems like the world title picture has been a serious point of pride for Tony and whoever's working on those stories. I'm letting it play out. Like I said earlier, the ascent of Will Ospreay has been a huge story in AEW. So has the turnaround and the ascent of Swerve. And I mean turnaround, I mean from a bad guy to a beloved good guy. That has been touted as well. So there are two stories that are converging into this big title match at Forbidden Door.
Yeah. AEW also has some releases. Paige Van Zant was removed from the women's roster. I had no idea she was still there.
When we asked Gangrel, he's like, she never came back to train. So that doesn't shock most people.
Yeah. Jake Hager, removed from the men's roster. Mark Henry from the broadcast team. And Arn Anderson from the coaches. And I feel that we all know where he's going to end up.
On a team where Brock Anderson is the captain.
Yeah. There you go.
And you know who Brock Anderson's tag team partner will be?
Who?
NXT superstar Lexis King.
Is that going to be? Is that what's happening?
We're gonna do a new legacy. Cody Rhodes will be at the forefront.
Oh my god!
Coach Arn will be there, and it'll be Lexis King and Brock Anderson, the new legacy.
Yeah.
They might even incorporate.
We're gonna do Q&As in a few moments here, but let's talk about this. Who killed WCW?
The fans.
The fans killed WCW.
No, not actually. No, stop it. The fans. I was a big.
Who killed WCW?
I don't know. We should probably find out on a new television program that debuts at this week.
This is a $7 production. The Rock is producing it. This premieres tonight on Vice TV at 10 p.m. I mean, here's the thing. Will it reveal anything that we don't know? And most likely not. There's been 5,000 books written about this over the last 25 years.
I've stopped.
I have all of them.
That's fair. I've stopped worrying about what will it reveal that we don't already know. And I've started to think of it as who are they talking to that we haven't already heard from in one capacity or another. And that is something that's on the docket. They have Ted Turner's son. They have Turner executives from different points in time. They are going to be part of this production.
Yeah.
And for some reason, The Rock is the voice of the overarching voice.
I know, weird.
That part was weird to me. And that's from an interview that Sean Ross Sapp did with Evan Husney. And that's a great interview. Go check it out over on youtube.com/Fightful. But overall, yeah, I don't expect this to be an answer to a question we don't already know the answer to.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The reality is this. The answer is it was everything. It was bad creative. It was the merger. It was Eric leaving and coming back. It was Russo going there and not really, here's a weird thing. And this is going to sound so weird. I don't think it's fair to blame Russo for this. Okay. I don't think it's fair because he walked into a disaster to begin with in 99. It was over. Like that company was, the beginning it was beyond the beginning of the end. And, his style did not work. And Eric came back and it made it worse and everybody left and optics were terrible, to use a word that I constantly use. Optics were terrible. And you're right. The fans were counting for the death of it. Exactly. I mean, very reminiscent of how people are talking about AEW on social media. There were groups out there that were all about killing that company. And we've spoken about this. One thing that Eric has said was a lot of those voices got heard by people in key positions in the AOL Time Warner organization. And it further poo-pooed what they thought of this company. Ted Turner not having power either. That also was a huge factor.
Well, I was going to say Jamie Kellner was often the person who killed WCW, having pulled the plug on any WCW programming.
And also Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, she came in and realized Russo was a vampire and took him out.
Is that how it ended?
That's how it ended in my brain.
Jamie Kellner canceled Buffy.
Oh yeah, no, I thought we were talking about how does WCW end in some fan blog that made a lot of sense.
No, that's my fan fiction.
Right, sorry, I gotta find.
Yeah. Vampiro, she has to fight Vampiro.
Wow.
And then it spins off into Angel. Angel has like a thing going on too. I was a big CW fan. Okay, don't point a finger at me. Let's do some questions. Q&A time. MG, I don't even know how to do the questions here because I don't have anything open. Okay, are you on? Hold on, let's get you on. All right, I'll read. You put it up. There you go. Nobody could hear him because he's only in my head. There is no producer. Do you hear him?
I hear him, but also he's in everybody's head.
Yeah, he's the voice in everybody's head at this point. All right, let's put him up. Okay, circling back to my question from 2 weeks ago. Best guess, does AEW WBD to get done before the exclusivity window? Great show. I would say they're probably going to get done in July. I think that's a very safe bet at this point. I also said it was getting done in the second quarter, which it was supposed to. And that was further delayed. I also did say that Tony was given an offer in late 2023, and that is absolutely true. He was given an offer, but it did not include TV. They were still negotiating the TV. So all of these variables play a huge part. But, there's a lot of questions we don't have answers to. Okay? Forget about the TV rights, right? Like, that's like the easiest thing. You figure out how much money you're going to make, and then you give an offer, and you say, absolutely not, that's too low, and you go back and forth for TV. Next day rights, right? We don't have really a place for next day AEW. Is it on TBS and TNT next day? I don't think so. Is it next day on TBS and TNT? Okay, then it is, but who the hell's using those apps? I don't think many people. What do you do with Max? Where do you put them on Max? Do they have their own channel? What do you do with the pay-per-views? Do you absorb the pay-per-views and make them free, part of your bundle deal, whatever the hell you're doing? Or do you put them on someplace else? Where are you putting them? BR is dead. This other bizarre streaming service for sports that they put up, I don't even know if it includes a pay-per-view functionality. I think it's just sports. Do you continue to allow AEW to put their products on other cable providers and split that cost? AEW most likely is making upwards of $20 million a year from pay-per-views, if you do the math. So if they're making $89 million a year now, right, because that's a number that's being thrown, plus another $20 million for pay-per-views and whatever else, is $110 million a lot of money? No, probably not. It's not. It's a lateral, which we don't want. You don't want a lateral, especially in this contract. There's so many moving parts here. I think it is closer to being done. And the way that I gauge that is by everybody stop talking. In November, everybody was chatting with me about this. In October, everybody was chatting. In September, everybody was talking. December, it was constant. But when the new year came, conversations became less and less. Generally, that means that people have signed non-disclosures and the deal is getting done. Is that fair? Why am I yelling at you? Why am I yelling at Joel when I'm saying this?
Well, you see, the funniest part about all this, first of all, Glassdoor Gamer's a great person. Does
great.
Getting
no, fantastic. Yeah, always.
And frequently sends super chats, especially on this show. I know about the WBD deal. My favorite part about this is that they're Canadian. They're asking this question about a U.S.-based television deal.
Yeah. But it matters.
It matters. It's funny because it matters from a business standpoint. If you're into that, I can tell you for myself, like I care, but also I think about how do I watch AEW television? Oh, right. I have AEW Fight on Triller because I use a VPN, nordvpn.com/Fightful. And also then I use for any of the pay-per-views, I'm usually watching them also on Triller or on YouTube, or I'm not American, so I don't think about where and I'm a cord cutter. I don't have cable, so I don't think about these things beyond where can I watch it. It's like the number's great, and then I need to like know where the TV is going to be airing. I just find it funny that the Canadian's asking the question.
Well, I think I think that is funny, but I think because that's where the money is for them.
Absolutely.
And they gotta, this year I anticipate once this deal is done, they're gonna start looking at international rights also, because there's a lot of open doors now with WWE going to Netflix. A lot of doors have opened, and that they're gonna want to fill because who's watching TV? Nobody. Baseball, football, hockey, basketball, and wrestling. That's it.
Yeah.
Wrestling was there the day that cable began, and wrestling will be there when cable dies. Just how it is.
Just like TNA and wrestling as a whole.
Well, let's see what happens with TNA.
No,
a lot of interesting stuff.
No, they've been writing that eulogy for 20 years, Andrew Zarian.
I will never write a eulogy for TNA. I have to tell you. That it'll survive the nuclear holocaust. It'll survive end of times, doomsday. The dinosaurs come back. TNA's still there.
Twinkies, cockroaches, TNA. Things that survive a nuclear war.
Yeah, pretty much. What else do we have? What other question? Do you think Gable's push is linked to his current contract situation? I think some of it is, yeah. Look what we could do for you. That's what it is. Hey, we really want you to stay. Look what we could offer you. Isn't this great to be a big-time TV star and make a lot of money?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know what was interesting? Andrade got the same treatment at the end of his contract. They were pushing Andrade tremendously on TV. I always felt that they should have done that from the beginning.
Yeah, I think.
But obstacles.
There are obstacles, and also I think Gable has just been so consistent over time. Not to say that Andrade hasn't. It's just that Gable's been around for a longer time with consistency. So this is a reward for that.
Yeah, and well-deserved. What else do we have? Is there any truth about MJF making $15 million a year? Who said that? Coach? Jonathan Coachman? The Jonathan Coachman?
Sure.
I mean, that's like...
I don't think so.
Really, that's like Roman Reigns money. I don't know if that's current Roman Reigns money, but that's astronomical. I cannot see that being factual in any. I don't know where that number came from, to be honest. That's a nutty number. Sporkita. It's from Sporkita. I would be. Listen, I hope it's true. Not for Tony's sake, for Max's sake. Yeah, I hope it's true. I want to see him make $15 million a year. Downside guarantee. Get that money. I don't think that's good for Tony. That's a crazy number, huh? Are we just throwing weird numbers out now? Are we just making things up?
Yes.
I'm going to start. You know what? I want everybody to guess what my Fightful salary is here.
Consider, just all I can tell people is please consider the source. Please consider, look at the articles that they drop, and look at the content they create, and look at the content. And that should almost always explain what you should or shouldn't listen to.
I mean, that's an astronomical number. Can you imagine if you did pay him? Yeah, let's go. What else? If TNA is bought by TKO, would TNA do a residency in Vegas? Well, they love Vegas. Ooh. Oh, see? Look at that connection.
I think they love the deal that they made with the Palms in Vegas. I don't know how far they would run to a residency in Vegas. I don't. Also,
I don't know if it's worth it for them, I don't know. I don't know if it would be worth it. I mean, you're going to sell 500 tickets for each show. How many shows you do in a day?
This is just like going back to the Impact Zone. Yeah, you're just going back to the Impact Zone at that point. You're just going back to Orlando and to Universal. That was good for a time, but just like with the PC, sometimes that crowd becomes the same. They get themselves over. They become the star of the show. I hate that for residencies. That's one thing that really annoys me when it comes to wrestling, is when it's always in the same place and the fans become part of the gimmick. It's just I'm there to watch the wrestling, not the fans.
Yeah. What is this question? Is it true that Collision did 122,000 viewers last week? Where is that from?
I don't think that's what that number was.
I don't even have the ratings for last week. I don't know if they're out. No, that was Rampage, because it was preempted. I didn't see that rating.
Rampage did 255.
Yeah, Rampage did 255. Oh, the Fast National Leak guy wrote that.
Sure, whatever.
All right, I guess so. I don't know. I don't even know his name. I can't even look him up.
Not important.
Yeah. What else do we have? Do you think AEW why would it be 122 though? What was on Saturday?
UFC? There you go. Right. The NHL playoffs were on.
I don't want to talk about. You know what? I don't want to talk about that. All right.
Exactly.
I don't want to talk about the Rangers collapsing.
It was a tape show.
Do you think AEW gets a new deal in the UK to show at least Dynamite live, showing it 3 days later when your biggest show of the year? Yeah, I get it. I know that they want a better deal for sure. I don't know what their current contract situation over there is, but isn't that amazing that they have a terrible TV positioning, but yet they're able to draw 40, 50,000 people in that building?
I mean, I bring it up again. You can get it on Triller Plus for a month. It's like $7 a month. So it's not impossible to watch it live. You do have the access. I get it for those who maybe aren't in a position to pay. They are not doing it, but like there's still a live option.
Yeah. By the way, that number that was reported was not true. I believe it was mixed up intentionally. Somebody said it. I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody. It was mixed up between the Rampage and Collision Fast National. That's what it was. Yeah, let's do a couple more. Which of the available free agents end up in AEW? Who's currently a free agent? I don't think Becky. I don't think Gable. Who else is
You've got Ricochet coming up. You've got...
that's interesting.
Okay.
That's very interesting to me. Because out of all the names that they could gain, that could benefit AEW, I think he would be one of those.
I think they're really trying to give Ricochet more of a personality on TV. I was going to say a persona, but no, more of a personality. And again, a wrestler is great when they wrestle, but I need a connection to you beyond your wrestling. If you are just another guy who does the moves, to me, that doesn't connect me with the fans.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes that's what happens with AEW. That's what was happening for a time. We're loading up the roster with a bunch of really great wrestlers, but they don't have the personality to tell a story that encapsulates fans and gets them more invested in you beyond, oh my God, here's a guy who does great wrestling matches.
Yeah,
So
I agree
Ricochet,
with you.
I think Ricochet's on the path to be more than just great wrestler guy. I don't know if he wants to hone that craft continuing on in WWE or elsewhere. He's a guy that could test that market and do well. Angel Garza is another one, by
That's
the way.
another great name. Yeah, and he's super talented. I don't know where he would benefit more. Natalia, that's another big name, and I think Natalia would be a tremendous asset for AEW as a coach, as a mentor to a lot of the younger talent. There's been tremendous emphasis put on that women's roster this year. There's no denying it with all the signings that they have and more people coming in. Isn't Camille coming in?
That's the rumor.
You know?
And there's a package deal also that people pointed out with Natty is that TJ Wilson could potentially make the jump as well. That's up to him. So another
and
great
TJ would be
producer.
another great producer that knows how to do that job really, really well.
Yeah, it's all up to what's available to them and what they want to do with their career paths. But those are some really tempting free agents that could hit the market for that, for AEW to look into.
Yeah. What else do we have? Two more. All right. Ask Beyond the Bell yesterday, Dustin Rhodes, who retweeted a 2022. I have terrible vision. I'm seeing this like from here, so I'm doing this. I'm not losing my mind.
Get your
tweeted from Jamie Hayter just saying LFG. Think it was cryptic? Ever since she's been out, she's been very silent about her injury. Maybe it's time. She should be returning soon. I want to see Jamie come back. She was really getting over. Again, that women's roster, when it's healthy, it's going to be tremendous.
People are asking all the time.
I have to tell you, Mariah May has been a great asset to them.
Yeah.
I'm liking, when her first match, she was probably a little nervous, but she has improved astronomically and has gotten super, super comfortable there. All right, one more question. What is your favorite defunct wrestling promotion? Lucha Underground, UWFI are my favorites. ECW.
Yep.
Defunct in what way? Like, listen, a lot of good Mid-South, tremendously. A lot of good Mid-Atlantic. Evolve. You know what? Modern day, Evolve would be my favorite promotion that's defunct now. That was one of the most fun times going to those shows on a Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock at La Boom. You know who's running La Boom? Hog.
That's right. House of Glory. We love that.
House of Glory's running La Boom. I should have gone. They ran a show last Friday.
We got to start going to La Boom. Got to start going back to House of Glory stuff.
I haven't been to a House of Glory show in a very, very long time.
Say hi to Mike Santana for us.
I will. I'll say hi to Mike. You had him on the show. How's he doing?
We've had him on a couple of times. I know Sean just dropped an interview as well. He's great. Yeah. And he's, there's a lot of talk about what does betting on yourself mean in pro wrestling. He is one of those guys that took it to heart and really has continued to bet on himself, and it pays dividends. Not everyone gets those opportunities.
He's a New York boy. New York boy. I got to support him. Him. He's a local guy.
And he's just a really solid human being, and I appreciate that. So yeah, man, I ride with that type of person.
I got to. What else is there? How about you? What is your favorite?
You mentioned promotion? ECW. ECW is definitely one of them. Stampede. Got to throw in some Canadian content, and WCW. I loved WCW when I was a kid, man. It really did. WCW, ECW, and WWF. Where it was like ECW and then WCW, and to me the WWF was like number 3, but a very close 2-3. I was a WCW kid. I know it's
that's
weird.
Wild. That's the opposite of. I mean, listen, I WWF always, ECW, WCW. You know what I liked? FMW. I was a big fan of FMW.
Yep.
Wings. You don't want to see Victor Quinones just screaming, Mr. Pogo! Over and over again?
No, when he said wings.
That's all that. Leatherface!
That's right.
It was Leatherface. It was Freddie. Freddie was there. Leatherface was there. They had a Jason.
They did every horror,
The Grim
match.
Reaper.
Yeah, Grim Reaper was there.
Crypto Reaper! He would just scream randomly. You know what? Anything with Victor Quinones screaming. If you don't know Victor Quinones' stuff, I highly recommend you go check it out. His stuff in Japan, because it was so off the rail. And do you know what is so daunting watching that? They throw a slur, okay, out so regularly in that promotion. FMW2. It's a slur towards Japanese people. Okay? And they're just openly just screaming at each other. I'm like, man, times are different.
Very.
I look at Joel and I call him a Canadian and he's like, what did you just call me?
Yeah.
You see where we're at now?
I get really, really close up and I'm just like, what did you say?
Before we wrap up, I think I asked you this. You saw the Blackberry movie, right?
Yeah, we talked about this once upon a time.
Is Waterloo where all the vampires hang out? Is that factual?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
yeah.
That's all I need to know.
I would never live there. I would never live there. Never fly out of there. Just exists.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know. All right, everybody. We'll see you all next week. Rich will be back on Beyond the Bell. I want to thank really one of my favorite people in all of professional wrestling media, Joel Pearl, the sweetest of them, the sweetest boy of them all.
No,
the
that's
sweetest.
you.
No, the greatest. The greatest.